What is going on, guys? We are going to talk about the problem with the Nissan Altima brakes. So this is a 2008 Nissan Altima. We've had this car since about 100,000 miles. And this is going to be, I think, the third set of pads in the last 60,000 miles. I guess pads and rotors. So we're going to discuss this. This last set I did was Rebestis, rotors and pads. These things have 15, maybe 20,000 miles on them. And I mean, that thing is toast. Car isn't driven aggressively, just normal driving. We've also tried OEM pads and rotors, kind of the same result. This time we're gonna change it up and go with a different brand, see if they're any better. So the first problem that I've had with these Altimas, and I've seen it on numerous different ones, I got a few different people that I work on their Altima, is they just wear out quick. For some reason, the front pads on these cars wear out really fast. The next thing is the slide pin. So if we pull this thing out of here, see how it looks. Doesn't look too bad, but this, where the slide pin goes into the bracket, there's a hole on this side, but it's just completely sealed otherwise. So you can't get very much grease in there, or otherwise you can't compress that thing down and get the pin to go in. So you gotta grease them lightly, or it doesn't like to go back together. These pins are notorious for hanging up. This one was free, as we can already see. This one is, it's not completely locked up, but it was on the verge. Now, when the pin locks up, what happens is you wear out one pad quicker than the other one, usually the inside pad. Because instead of that whole thing floating, your piston is just pushing the single pad in. Now, of course, when they get down this bad, they just make noise. The other problem that I had with these rotors specifically is they're pretty warped. So I'm hoping the new rotors we put on here are a little better quality. Now, the brand I'm going to try is the Power Stop. These are Power Stop ceramic pads as well as Power Stop rotors. Now, got this whole set from Rock Auto. Still pretty cheap, so I'm not expecting super high quality, but the Power Stop stuff, I've seen some good reviews on it, I've seen some bad reviews, so we're gonna find out. Some things to keep in mind when you put the new set on. New hardware, of course. You want to clean everything up really good with brake clean. Get all the garbage out of there. I use a product that goes in between the caliper and the pad. And I also put it in between the caliper bracket and all the clips and such. I'll show you that here in a second. But that helps with any noise. Keep in mind, the pins are not the same. So they have a specific location, a top and a bottom. So don't get those mixed up when you take them apart. But you do want to make sure to pull the pins out, clean them all up really good, clean inside the caliper bracket, and then grease them all back up, put it back together. This is the product I use. It's from CRC, Disc Brake Quiet. It just takes up any of the space that could cause a vibration that would lead to a noise. So Once again, CRC disc brake quiet. Another thing that these things are notorious for is where your master cylinder meets your brake booster. That seal will go bad and you'll actually leak brake fluid into the booster. Now, what that does is eventually it's going to ruin the brake booster. You're going to need a brake booster and a master cylinder. There is actually a way to check this where your vacuum line comes into your brake booster. Pull that out and you can actually do an inspection inside the booster to see if there's any fluid. That's the line I'm talking about. Right where it goes into the booster, you can pull it out right there. If you got a bore scope, you can stick it down in there, mirror, anything. You just want to make sure that you're not getting brake fluid back into that brake booster. Other than the brakes, I have no complaints about this car. Once again, this is a 2008 Altima. This has got the 2.5 liter. This engine has been great. Over 160,000 miles. This thing doesn't burn a drop of oil. Runs great, gets pretty good fuel economy, actually runs pretty well. But once again, that's just impressive at that mileage. Today, modern engine doesn't burn any oil. Doesn't leak any oil, doesn't leak anything. Now, when most people think of Nissans, it's always the notorious CVT transmission that causes the issue. Every time. Pretty great car, except for, you always have the except for. Now, the CVT will last a whole lot longer if it is serviced correctly, meaning that if it actually gets some fluid changes, you know, every 30,000 miles, get that fluid changed out, it does help to prolong the life. They still just have issues though. They're not super reliable. This car, on the other hand though, has something different. This is actually a 6-speed manual. I have only ever seen a couple of these that came equipped with a manual, but this thing is awesome once you put a manual in it. That CVT is the weak point of these cars. Do away with it, and you got a great car. And that's all I got for you in this video. Any of you Nissan guys have any tricks for these brakes? Make them last longer? Have you found a brand that works better? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.